Hello? Hello? Too much? Don't know if anyone can hear me. If you can hear me or if you can't hear me, type something or tweet me or something. I'll be getting progressively more drunk throughout these, so I take no responsibility for anything I say. Thank you, Nick. Because I can't handle being live on the internet without being a little bit wasted. Will we edit Blue Dragon? Maybe. I don't know. It would be great if we did. If we don't, I will try to make sure that if we make the map, I'll give everyone who backed it. But no guarantees. It's something called Beavertown. It's some bullshitty hipster beer. I buy these. It's pretty strong, actually. What's it called? It's an IPA. They sell these fancy IPAs in the shop near me, so I got 3 of them. I'm gonna have to try and spread them out. Well, I probably won't. It's this 6.7%, so should be going off. Don't ask me any political questions once I've had a few drinks. I don't know what you guys want to do. The chances of me getting through 3 hours without some kind of meltdown or just like flaking out are low, but I could read you some medieval riddles and test your ability to answer them. We could do bits of Gorman Gas. I've got the Norton Anthology of Poetry that I want to get through. I've got the original 2017 Broken Fire Regime test print. If you want me to read you bits of that, I can go into the future and read you bits from the upcoming books, perhaps. If we ever get that. Hidden Shadows is kind of a scary name. I also have the Stormcast, which I'm planning to assemble, but I probably shouldn't now because I had a drink. And last time I tried that whilst drinking, I took a big chunk out of my finger. Go on Twitter and tell people this is happening. Where are we all coming from? Anyone from America? Bad day for this view, if so, in which case my apologies. If anyone has any questions about DBS or anything else we've got coming, feel free to ask. Last time I did one of these was almost over a year ago for Deep Carbon Observatory. I think I should take slow mode off. If I knew how to do that, I would, but I don't. I'll see if I can do it. I'm not even allowed to. Oh, it finally arrived. I'm glad. Hopefully not from the original fulfillment. You're running low on those. I don't know how many we have left. We're probably not running low. I'll check now. See. Products. DCO we have. Oh, I've got loads. Got like almost 1,700 left, so it should be good for a year or 2 more. All right, I'm going to ask you some riddles, and probably if anyone knows how to turn slow mode off, type it in the chat. I don't think enough people have turned up for it to actually be valid. I just didn't want to get swamped with weird questions. You see, the early ones are the most beautiful ones. Anyone who has read Silent Titans will know that I put a few of St. Alden's riddles in there with the permission of the guy who translated them. Although I don't know what he thought of the book or if he wanted a copy or anything. We sent him one, I think, but all right. Here's a riddle for you. I'm called the nurse of all that earth must bear, and rightly so, since bratty babes don't bite their mother's nipples with as much delight, sprouting in heat, then wasting in cold air. I feel like that is way incoherent. Oh, Dungeon Craft. Oh, who is that? I don't imagine you will be able to get this one because even for Altheim, it's a bit incoherent. Oh, it's that guy. The guy with the... I know that guy.
Welcome.
Yeah, he looks like everyone's dad. He looks like everyone's uncle. He looks like your science teacher. Or your cool English teacher. No, we need that. That one was Earth, which no one could get. No one could get that. This one should be pretty obvious. No one can hold me in his palms or sight. I scatter sudden clatter far and wide. I want to hammer oaks with mournful might, yet I strike sky and scour countryside. Oh, that was nice of him. I'm probably going to end up being defined by Veins of the Earth. I'll be Veins of the... Yes, well done, Hidden Shadows. You got it. You got it. 10 points to you. I might break you down into houses later on. How do I turn slow mode off? Video, more options, deselect. Well, that's not it. Where am I? It was wind. I'm sorry, lightning is a good one, but you got it. All right. This is... You should be able to... Let's see. Is this one gettable? There are some in here which are specifically late medieval religious accoutrement, which obviously if you're like St. Aldheim and you're a monk and you're saying this to the monks, you're going to be like, it's an epistle or something, and they're going to be like, hilarious, Aldheim. Of course it was, but for anyone else, it's not going to go. Okay. Here's one. I share now with the surf one destiny, in rolling cycles when each month repeats. As beauty in my brilliant form retreats, so too the surges fade in cresting sea. It's the moon. You got it again, Hidden Shadow, but the tide is also good, Hester. Manage. Oh, is there a tennis thing on? Do we have like a successful tennis player in the UK? I heard that we did. Why did I hear that? my god, it's literally impossible to find out anything useful about YouTube. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Maybe it's just set to the stream itself. I'll drop you one more and then I'll read you a bit of Broken Fire Regime. Why not? What did I... Okay. I forget why I turn the pages on things. Oh, this is just the answers. Was there anything I really liked? This is fun. I am born from dripping drops in soggy sky, and grow in swelling froth where rivers flow. But no hand sways me while I'm swimming by, or else my guts are spilled out everywhere, and fragile breath disperses in thin air. I lead my team downstream with throngs in tow, since many friends have birth dates that we share. Oh God, how many... we have downvotes already. That's absolutely classic. I'll read that one again. You're getting close. I'm born from dripping drops in soggy sky, and grow in swelling froth where rivers flow. But no hand sways me while I'm swimming by, or else my guts are spilled out everywhere, and fragile breath disperses in thin air. I lead my team downstream with throngs in tow, since many friends have birth dates that we share. Closer again, Blue Dragon Network. If you could cut the difference between rain and salmon, you might be getting closer. It's definitely in a river and flowing downstream, hard to impede, but if you touch it, then it can die. Bubbles, that's right. Maybe I made it too easy for you. Yeah, I should go and downvote my own stream. It's Patrick Stewart. Sometimes read Reddit and or Reddits, boomer language. I read Reddit, and if I see like a criticism of Patrick Stewart that I think is valid, then I basically upvote it. No, that's wrong. Don't do that. Okay, what did I say I would do? I'll reach the Broken Fire Regime. What would you like to hear about first? Do you want to hear about Frictionless Blue Glass and the horrible world of the zone? Or do you want to hear a bit of Palaces of Fire and the weird shit that's going on in that, which you'll be seeing in like 3 to 4 years, hopefully? Typical. There's no coherency there. Let me see if I can find you something interesting from Palaces of Fire, and then we'll do Blue Glass. God, what a mess. All right, here we go. Fire. Your body. This is from section called Through Gates of Fire. Passing through translates your form like poems in a foreign tongue. The broad idea of who you are remains, but details shift in emphasis. Pale skin glows like the paper of a Chinese lantern, full of flickering light and black matter. Dark skin gleams like near molten bronze. Veins and arteries become black rivers in a burning field. The lungs glow like a furnace with each breath, highlighting the dense material ribs. Eyes become dark pools, the iris a shifting incandescence with tiny ember shoals between the dark tributaries of the eye's blood supply. In game terms, this makes no difference. PCs are breathing something, though it may not be oxygen, and their bodies are digesting something, somehow. Make it clear to players that just because they can walk on the candle flame grass and climb the rocket exhaust trees without any harm, they are not safe. Just because they are alive in a reality of fire does not mean they are immune. Danger is still danger, risk still risk, and pain still pain. Caresses, cuts, and stabs still feel the same, though here the blood is dark, is near dark black and cool. The land. An almost perfect parkland with a handful of carefully chosen floors. It's bright. Everything is made of fire. The soil is embers, the grasses are like candle flames or buzzing fuse tips. The nodding flowers are butane blooms with petals like radial pilot lights. Trees are meteors exploding in midair, or pillars of multicolored light and smoke with embering cascades of sparks, like 100 days of fireworks rolled into one. Some are ghost trees, gowned in conflagration like the voids of real trees burning, and some are dense networks of interwoven lightning, strobing like a multi-layered neon sign. All are slowed in time and cooled to the touch, frozen in a fraction-second moment of growth that might last 1,000 years, emitting their energy slowly, over centuries or more. The hills roll gently with light and cast their glow up into a gloomy, maze-like sky. All right, let's have some blue, some of the zone from Frictionless Blue Glass. Hopefully, that was pretty good to be honest. I don't think I can write that well anymore, but hopefully I wrote something at least reasonably good for the zone. This print is a mess though, so who knows? All right, that's boring physical stuff. The view from the rim. A crater filled with trees. If you peer, you can see at the limits of your sight the furthest rim upon the other side. The trees are strange and range in height. Their branches spray out from their tops and curl like ferns. The largest trees are huge, striking upwards from the canopy like black hands summoning the sky. The leaves, branches, and crowns are tinged with blue, as if they somehow mirrored back the air. Tiny chips glint and glimmer and shine in the sunlight. As a breeze runs through the leaves, ripples of reflected sapphire light roll through the canopy and fade into the darkness beneath the branches, like bright ink mixing into dark. From somewhere in the center of the crater, hidden by the forest, a slender strand of blue-black smoke pours itself endlessly into the sky, like the straight stroke of a sharp, thin brush. Oh, this is a good one. It's probably my favorite creature from all of these books. Cephalophant. The cephalophant is simply an elephant squid. Its color is a soft, cloudy, clear sky blue. It is about the size of an Indian elephant, and it moves with a wonderful, near-silent grace. In dark, humid nights, when the air is pregnant with miscarried rain that never comes, and lightning crackles around the rim beyond the zone, the cephalophants emerge and ghost through the forest like specters or elephant dreams. The low and mournful trumpet of the cephalophant, along with the weep, weep, weep of migrating moon moles, and the endless shifting of the canyon ash, makes up the strange night music of the zone. They come from somewhere under the earth, curled up in cracks in the ground while the sun is in the sky, or swimming their way down to the water table, hidden somewhere in the deep abyssal gloom, where perhaps they lead a strange second life and wear some other shape. Brackets. It could be the cephalophant is only the expeditionary shape of a thassostygial entity of quite a different form. Close brackets. Whatever the truth of that, in the zone, the cephalophant is usually seen at night, wandering the forest and searching for the sword-flaxed fruit it so adores. They have no natural predators. They provide limited nutritional value, are remorselessly strong when aroused, and they are extremely quiet and stealthy beings, treading softly and able to disappear into very small spaces at speed. Some have alleged the cephalophants are intelligent enough to make use of simple tools, knocking down fruit by wielding sticks and carrying empty logs and hollow fronds, which they hide inside when spooked. All of this makes them difficult, even functionless prey, and there is no creature in the zone large enough to reliably defeat one, even if it wished to. Cephalophants fear only mankind and the evaporating power of the sun. Though they are very occasionally seen in daylight, they always prefer shade and become frightened and distressed if forced into strong, direct light. Cephalophants are strange and thoughtful creatures, tactile and friendly at times, but dedicated to avoiding the attention of man. Some people report being rescued from inside patches of swordflax by cephalophants, or being trapped alone beneath falling cloud-grey fronds, only to find a group of cephalophants gathering to lift up the frond, allowing them to escape. There is not an Appendix N for DBS. I guess I could go through and try and work out. It wouldn't be very long. It would be basically Gaston Bachelard's The Psychoanalytics of Fire, and Stephen Pine's books on the fire, and the interview with Dungeon Smash, and a few other books. Fire does not have a lot that's been written about it. It's like a narrow interest. I guess it's hard to study. It kind of makes sense. It's not around for very long. And there goes my first drink of the night. Still, we are 20 minutes in. Nothing terrible has happened. How do I link this? Is this still share? Copy video link. All right, let's see if I can share this on the socials. God knows we all love social media. Blessed state of being. How am I? I'm okay. I always feel a little bit sad when a project reaches its end, or at least when a Kickstarter does, because it's just so much stuff going on. By the time it's like complete and nothing has not gone bad, I'm kind of like a bit flaky. And I've recently moved to this house in Thingwall, which is very, 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 very silent. I guess it's better than Birkenhead, where there were like druggies outside and shouting, but it's very out of the way. I'm a little bit out of sorts, I think, but I'm okay. I'm better than I have been at many other points in my life, so I'm not really complaining. How are you? My chat. Got my haircut recently as well, because during COVID, I just didn't get it cut at all, so I had it in I looked well like comic book guy from The Simpsons. But now it's gone back to normal because I've had it cut. No more screeching goblins. I'll show you the bookshelves while waiting for fixation. I've only got 4. I have to cut them down. Hopefully you won't go off. There's Churchill's History of Malbrenner's Times along with Berserk. That one just arrived. Those are all comics and art books. More comics and art books. And more comics and art books. That was a mistaken purchase. I don't really like prints that much. I still haven't read the entire history of information design. Here's Warhammer figures, which I haven't played in years, but I still like painting them. Here's Vinland Saga. That's an excellent series. This is the household encyclopedia I got off my aunt's house. It's got 1930s and has advice on manners, but I've never read it. RPG stuff. More RPG stuff. This is old copies of White Dwarf chopped up. Here's test print. More comics, more RPG stuff. More RPG stuff. What else? Bunch of Warhammer stuff on the walls. And a bunch of Silent Titan stuff on the walls here. Blame, another great series. This is Richard Fortey's The Earth, which was a big influence on Deep Calm and Observatory. More comics. The Grown-Up Shelf with like stuff about language and neuroscience. Some classics. Haven't read most of this particular group, but I have read the rest. Very handy book about costuming. Night Stuff, Barbara Tuchman. Great book about the court of Louis XIV or 16th, I forget which. Arthurian stuff, poetry, more Arthurian stuff, and general like oral culture stuff. There's another copy of the Mort. Lovecraft, Wind in the Willows, very, very good book. 2 books I got on my trip to New Zealand. And Warhammer stuff, and that's about it. I have to get rid of books all the time. Turn off slow command, slow off in the chat box and click enter. It's amazing that I googled that and it didn't come up. That didn't work. I missed something. Is there some other way to type a command? Oh. Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you, Ryan. Nice to see you. I was worried about like getting hammered, Chris. I was worried about getting hammered by comments, which was foolish because there's like I don't know how many people here, but not that many. 24. Cogwheel, bottom of the chat box, and a slow-mo tab. I'm going to turn it off. There's no cogwheel. What am I not seeing? About chat. I've got a face, custom emoji. And what am I not getting? Yeah, because Google used to be able to do stuff like this. And now you can't. Like, there are so many things. The internet basically, it's shit now, right? So I remember growing up, the internet was amazing. I think I grew up when I was like just entering adulthood when it became like an actual thing. And there was all kinds of, and it got better and better until around the 3 dots hitting that, but it's giving you manage moderators, participants, timestamps, and send feedback. That's okay. Google fails all of us ultimately. It's inevitable. It's always the way with Google. I'm missing what people are saying. Well, it's crazy. The weather is mental because no more shelves. There was a really long summer. It flickered to autumn briefly, and then the warm weather came back. And then a day or so ago, in the middle of the night, there was a massive cracoom of thunder, and then a massive storm hit. And then yesterday or the day before, there was like an hour of the most torrential rain, which came out of nowhere and drowned. If you look on Wirral News or Birkenhead News, there are whole streets. There's a picture of someone fucking canoeing down the street. And all of that rain that just like drowned streets right at the bottom of the Wirral, all of that arrived in like an hour, and it lasted an hour, maybe 2, and then just stopped like that. So the weather has been nuts, and I've been scared to go cycling anywhere because if I get caught out and the weather hits, I'm bollocked. But buying Silent Titans in the UK, you may as well get it because I don't know. Well, it's only really available from one place, and which is All for Silence. I don't know if there will ever be another version or what's going on with that. There's no guarantee of when there will be a version available through False Machine. If that you believe can happen, there's absolutely no, like, that's not even a priority. Like it'll be veins next, and then maybe, but we might just leave it with swordfish. It depends on a lot of circumstances. Only a handful of which have anything to do with me. So if you want to buy it from Swordfish Islands. It's the only place you're going to get it for like several years, definitely, maybe forever. Rudolph, I hope it lives up to your expectations. I don't remember what I did in my last stream. Did I get too weird or not? I don't know. It was like more than a year ago, so who cares? All right. Hold on. No, I've been looking for an excuse to dig into this, and now I have a captive. Well, not that captive audience. I will find a way. I will be able to finally read from my edits channel overview, adjust the time intervals, channel settings, cog icon. Oh, let's see if we can do it. Let's see. The channel. Add to queue. This is going to be like a fucking hour of me fiddling, 3 hours of me dicking around with YouTube. Settings. No. That's not it. Discussion. No. And that's not it. Oh, no, that's bad. I don't want to look at myself. Yeah, the UK-US issue, like the market's in the US and so many creators are in the UK, which is weird, to be honest. But False Machine will always be producing in the UK. I remember when Encarta came out. Does anyone remember that? It was like Wikipedia on a CD-ROM. Bill Gates, Microsoft brought it out, and they were like, "Here's an entire encyclopedia on a CD-ROM," and we were like, "What the fuck? How did you do that?" I spent ages on Encarta, which kind of tells you everything you need to know about me as a child. But I'm eagerly looking up stuff on Encarta. Healthful athletic sports. How to strengthen the muscles. Everyone admits that it is wiser and better to prevent an evil while it is in one's power to do so than to remedy it afterwards. It's better to avert disease by appropriate means than first to induce it and then attempt to cure it. Even if, for the preservation of health, some sacrifice of habits and tastes should be found necessary, surely this will not be too high a price for the undisturbed enjoyment of a blessing, the absence of which diminishes the value of all other good things in life. It is generally known and recognized rule for the preservation of health that one should take a walk every day. This is, no doubt, beneficial to health. Still, experience shows that walking is not the infallible and all-sufficient means it is supposed to be. For a great many most eager and conscientious walkers are both weak and ailing, and become worse in spite of their walks. By this, we don't mean to say that their walking is the cause of their debility and sickliness, but that this form of exercise does not fulfill all the conditions required for exercise, aiming at the prevention or cure of disease. This is mental. I'll tell you, it is called the title. The Proper Conduct of Life, the Art of Pleasing the True Lady and the True Gentleman. Chapter 1, Manners Make the Man. It's called The Household Encyclopedia. I can't find publishing info I think it was published in the 1930s. Pages are missing. Is that handwriting? I don't know. It's been rebound at some point. It's crumbling now. My aunt had it in her attic, and I don't think she knows where she got it from. Good manners are so important that the world has long had the proverb that manners make the man. A person may be highly gifted and well educated, yet if destitute of the art of pleasing, all other accomplishments will be of little account. Success in life depends much upon appearance and deportment. I don't know what year it's. I don't know. There's no publishing like scroll at the start. Either that part has fallen out, or it's been dissolved at some point. I don't know. It's referencing stuff from the 1860s. The index, Blair's Rules for Style, the climate of the United States, poisons and their antidotes. This really is the household encyclopedia. Although I think you'd be kind of screwed if you were trying to like, if someone was poisoned and you were just like, typhoid fever, yellow fever, sulfur fumigation, everyday handbook, civilization of Africa. All right. I take no responsibility for whatever this is. I know it is said that it is impossible to civilize Africa. Why? I'm going to stop if this gets cancelled again. Why is it impossible to civilize men in one part of the earth more than in another? Consult history. Was Italy, was Greece the cradle of civilization? No. As far back as the lights of tradition reach, Africa was the cradle of science, while Syria and Greece and Italy were yet covered with darkness. As far back as we can trace the first rudiments of improvement, they come from the very headwaters of the Nile, far in the interior of Africa, and there are yet to be found in shapeless ruins the monuments of this primeval civilization. To come down to a much later period, while the west and south of Europe were yet barbarous, the Mediterranean coast of Africa was filled with cities, academies, museums, churches, and a highly cultivated population. Yeah, that wasn't that bad. Some advice for women in here. I don't know if you can see this. Look, it has illustrations. A picture of an idiot, accurate as well, and a couple who's, I guess they're poorly matched. Let's see what it says. Both nervous, lean, irritable, dyspeptic, constant frictions in married life, each exasperating the other, not suited to each other. Each should have married one more robust, patient, and amiable. What sizes should mate? Size is one measure of power and nervous excitability of its expenditure. Hence, those who are both large and excitable will expend a double amount of energy over those who are either small and excitable or large and sluggish. Great sizes, along with extreme susceptibility, expend too much power and hence should intermarry with those at least good-sized in order to balance their undue ardor with the other's coolness and power. If escorting a woman of more commanding appearance than himself should mortify a small man, he should feel proud that he could win one his physical superior, and had better mortify himself a little than his children always. Yet she need not exceed him much in stature, especially if prominent-featured and rather large-framed, for a good-sized woman is but a little larger than a small-sized man. Yet the wife of a large man really should have a large mouth and a tough, enduring temperament with good muscles. What the fucking hell? God. I think we're playing eugenics Russian roulette right now. Oh, there we go. Large, active brain, nervous, mental temperament, fine grain and magnetic force, type of self-made man, the governor of Illinois. There we go. That's your 1930s Chad right there. That's your man of eminence. There is the face of a mean miser, and there a crabbed maid. Still accurate. That is definitely a miserly face, there's no doubt. We have someone's been drawing on this. I bet it's my grandma at some point in the 30s. A dissipated husband, a sour dyspeptic. This guy's missed out. Large perceptive faculties, defective reasoning powers, yet bold in conceptions, strong individuality, and dislikes opposition. Celebrated author. Oh boy. Nature's time for mating. Maybe we should go back to reading. We'll go back to reading Broken Fire Regime for a while. I'm nearly at the point where I can take another drink, thank God. I think it's like something like, what's that head bump thing? Phrenology? Let me see if I can find something more interesting. It's nearly 9 o'clock. All right. We'll do some random rolls. Let me see if I can find an interesting one. What do people think about having like micro tables for meeting individuals in games? Would you rather have it just be this is what they say and this is what they do? Or would you rather have like a tiny two-column D6 table where they have like a kind of personality matrices based into that, but it can be random each time, so you don't know exactly what they're going to be like, but they're always relatively coherent. I get up at 7, but then I had breakfast and then I get kind of sad and then I go back to bed and just lie in bed for like 15 minutes or half an hour to look at the ceiling. I don't know why. My body wakes up around 7 and then I kind of do my brain just doesn't want to get up until later on. Random encounter. You can bloody well find my stuff. We could go for a stroll in the there's like a favela in the compound or the area of Frictionless Blue Glass, like an area of where people. Here we go. 174. All right. Okay, who wants to give me a D30 roll? Peter, if they give you a hammer in an American hardware store, do they give you a bag to put it in? Because I bought a hammer in Liverpool, but when I was going, actually they're like, here you go, mate, put it in this bag, because otherwise I'm walking down the street with a hammer and they're afraid I was going to get arrested. That's 3 of you. All right, 16. Okay. You enter the Jubilee. Okay, so you're in the favela. There's a bricolage of wooden shacks held together with hemp and spit. The builders show an inventive genius with their minimal tools. Weird additions and clever improvisations abound. Non-show design, and any could fall down at any moment. You, being adventurers, go to the tavern, which is the closest equivalent, the Jubilee, largest building in the favela, a long, low shack with rooms separated by hanging sheets and screens of crystallized fronds. The owners have usually managed to bag at least a few firefly lanterns, a business that exists almost entirely so that people can scheme on each other and occasionally get laid. It is a fountainhead of conspiracies, criminal, amorous, financial, and benign. So, Hidden Shadow, you encounter someone who warns you to hide your metal weapons. Obviously, you're in the zone, they don't allow fire, and metallic weapons are semi-banned, so they're very valuable, and someone might steal them from you. Griff Fixation, you encounter... You're thrown out over a misunderstanding. My apologies, you can't go back in. And Omar, you've been challenged to a dance-off. Test your dex to save your self-esteem, to win esteem, actually. So if you want to drop it, give me a dex test, then let me know if you win. There's a few other places. If you go through a walk through town, if someone wants to give me another D30 roll to see what you encounter there. It should have been cooler, dude. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know if we'll keep all of this. Basically, we tried to define the entire place with just simple tables. I don't know if it's really a smart idea or not. Probably we will keep something of it. Some of these aren't that great. Xavier, 24, you're walking through the center of town, the favela that is, and you encounter a lost child crying with a small, cute dog. Do you get involved? Rusina, you encounter... You're warned of an attempted robbery. Someone comes to you and whispers. I think you're meant to roll under in classical D&D, so, Omar, unless you have a very high dex, I think you might not be successful. Dave, Greggs, you are... A snotty jar grabs the PC's hem and asks about their most recent hireling a dog's body. What are they really like? They ask. When did I write this? Like 2015? This needs to be improved. I guess these are kind of non-super like grabby encounters, but they're not really meant to be. Oh, I'll read you a bit on centipede fights. This is kind of quite interesting. The name of the dog. I guess his name is Captain Frond, or Frondy. I'll read you, because in the center of the town, of the favela, there is a sport. Quote, at the center of the favela is a cut piece of fallen cloud grey frond, lodged in the ground and flattened off like the trunk of a carefully felled tree. This is where the primary centipede bouts take place each night. Smaller private bouts can take place on flat stones, or in a blind fight, the two creatures can be thrown together in a bottle or bucket, but this is the main event. Huge crowds gather here. As chance would have it, the centipede ring is the exact center of the core, which is in the exact center of the zone. Centipede lore. The unusual aspect of centipede dueling in the zone is not that the animals are forced to fight. Games of a similar kind can be found in many cultures, but the sophisticated lore that surrounds the assumed characters of the centipedes. In the zone, dueling centipedes are considered personalities in a complex, evolving drama. Any dueling centipede must be given a name and a title. The title must be a noble one, sir or lady at minimum. Note, the actual gender of the centipede has no effect on its name or title. Usually, but not always, a centipede will start at relatively low rank. However, sometimes a centipede will be given a relatively high status name straight away if it seems obviously appropriate to the creature. Exactly what makes the name appropriate is not always clear. Some might have a distinctive feature or particular quality of behavior, i.e., a wounded centipede might be called general, or a torpid one, bishop, a beautiful one, queen, or a dramatically limbed one, emperor. But the exact relation of title to creature is never... Oh, that's a board repetition. Though the crowd will certainly know if a centipede is poorly named and will mock its pretension. As well as the name, each centipede has an assumed character, backstory, personality, and, if it survives long enough, a dramatic and labyrinthine personal history. The centipedes are imagined in the public mind as nobles, vying against each other in some dramatic, contentious, ever-expanding drama. Some centipedes are assumed to be good or heroic creatures, and some are assumed to be bad or villainous. This has no effect on their popularity with the crowd, although bouts between one good and one bad creature always draw the biggest crowd and largest bets. Zonal centipedes come in a range of colors, from dim blue-black to pale white, red, green, purple, and some colorless centipedes. Centipedes of the same color will be assumed to be of the same noble family, organization, or house, but this does not mean that they will fight against each other. This is very long. Will this be in the final book? I'm going to keep going. Like a street name or an in-joke, no one person can assign a centipede its character. The exact details of the imagined history, personal background, and the invented sleight that brought the two centipedes to battle are an emergent property of the audience. These histories might flex and shift their form a little for a few bouts, but if a centipede keeps surviving, then its history becomes legend to be preserved and transmitted rather than argued over or invented. Some of the more famous have a notoriety that passes through the generations. Old zonals will often happily sit and talk of the great centipede duels of the past, and will often remember the imagined personal histories of their favorite centipedes. Though a losing centipede usually dies, the character they play can return. Sometimes, if a centipede is found which seems similar enough to a previously defeated one, and if it seems appropriate, the character may return to the ring, perhaps to avenge their previous defeat. Such a creature might be painted black to signify that it is incognito. Then, should it win, the ink will be washed off and its true name and nature revealed. If it matches its evolving story, a centipede might even be painted a different color to signify that it has betrayed its house and gone over to an opposing house. Of course, if a famous character returns to the ring and dies in the first bout, the crowd will simply say that they were a pretender or false centipede, and that the real personality is still out there somewhere, awaiting their return. Players should always name their own centipede, but here is a selection of possibilities. All right, who wants to generate a centipede? Everyone. Huh. All right. I need 3 and only 3 D12 rolls for a title, a name, and the insult which has caused them to take to centipede dueling. The first 3 D12 rolls win. 6. Okay. Next. 4. And the last one, the reason, 7. I'm going to take 7. All right. This is Queen Gargantua, and she fights because she is her insult is that the enemy is of a contemptible house, effete blue or savage green, etc. 2-1-2 would be Dame Snips It All, and her insult is that someone is a suggested cuckold. So if you want a centipede fight, you need a centipede, and you need to richly insult the other person's centipede in a noble style, and then you fight. When I was writing this, Scrap kind of asked me if I had gone too far with the centipede rolls. Maybe I had. Maybe I had. I don't know. But there's a whole, like, can you make... This is kind of like a really... One of those insanely, like, fat computer-generated RPGs, like Witcher or something, where you can sit and play the card game for ages. You can. I know. If anyone knows how to turn off slow mode, let me know. Or I could restart the stream with less slow mode. No one knows. God. Who is awful? Stream. So the only way to do it is there's some YouTube videos, but I can't watch one. All right, I'm gonna grab a new drink. I'll be back in a second. All right, this is Beavertown Gamma Ray American Pale Ale, 5.4%, so things should be calming down. How are we doing on the Kickstarter? I'm too nervous to hit it. I'm gonna click it anyway. I'm just gonna get increasingly depressed throughout the night. Will we hit 40 grand? We won't, or it seems extremely unlikely, but Hey, we're on 37,000. That's better than I thought we would do. 2 hours to go. All I need is several £1,000s. I don't absolutely need it, but I would like you. I think I basically, partly it's me getting cancelled, partly it's it not being a well-known property, and partly it's me not doing that well on the Kickstarter because I moved house and a bunch of weird stuff's been happening. Not weird, but and so I didn't really hammer the Kickstarter as much as I could have. I know Hidden Shadow. What can we do? Let's do some Golden Ghast. There's some really beautiful writing in it. I still haven't read Titus Loam, which was one of the reasons I started to read it. Wow, I've bent the pages all over this place. As the thin man's gaze travelled down the steep sides of this crag to the great heart-shaped gulch beneath it, where what vegetation there was lay sunk in a sea of shade, he felt, rather than saw, for his thoughts were still in the darkness, a quickening of the air about him, and lifting his head, he noticed how, with the deepening of the rose in the sky, all things were tinted, as though they had awaited the particular concentration of hue which the sky now held, before admitting the opinions of their separate colours to be altered or modified. As at the stroke of a warlock's wand, the world was suffused, all things saving the sun, which, in contradiction to the colour of the vapours and the forms that it had raddled, remained golden. Flay began to untie his boots. Behind him, his swept cave yawned, a million prawn-coloured motes swaying against the darkness at the entrance. He noticed as he worked his heel free of the leather, that the crag was biting its way into the sun and had all but reached its centre. He leant his bony head backward against the stone, and his face became lit, and the stubble of his first beard shone, its every hair a thread of copper wire, as he followed the course of the crag's crest in its seemingly upward and arrow-headed journey, its black barbs eating outwards as it climbed. Inexorable as was its course, there was, that summer evening, more destiny in the progress of another moving form, so infinitesimal in the capricious mountain dusk than the vast sun's ample, spellbound cycle. Through her, in microcosm, the wide earth sobbed. The star globe sank in her, the colours faded, the death dew rose, and the wild birds in her breast climbed to her throat and gathered songless, hovering, all tumult, wing to wing, so ardent for those climbs where all things end. To Flay, it was as though the silence of his solitude had been broken, the senses invading each other's provinces, for on seeing the movement of something the size of the letter I, that moved in silhouette against the gigantic yellow plate, he had the sensation of waking from a dream which took hold of him. Distant as it was, He could tell it for a human form. That it was Kedo was not in his power to realize. He knew himself for witness. He could not stop himself. He knelt forward on his knees while the moments melted one into the next. He grew more rigid. The tiny, infinitely remote figure was moving across the sun towards the crag's black edge. Impotently, he watched, his jaw thrust forwards, and a cold sweat broke across his bony brow, for he knew himself to be in the presence of sorrow, and an interloper upon something more personal and secret than he had the right to watch, and yet impersonal, for the figurette was the personification of all pain, taking through sliding time its final paces. Any other writer, that would be like a 2-sentence description. Live dashboard in the chat module. What is live dashboard? About chat. So I've got live chat. Manage moderated participants, toggle timestamps, send feedback. I think you've got us closer, Gravixation. It's loading something. Public. All actions. Not delete forever, no. Description, visibility, audience. No, it's not made for kids. We're not made for kids, are we, chat? Add edit. So it will update something. I definitely feel like we're getting closer. Well, let me change this. Let me change that. I think slowly, Gravixation. Increasingly slowly as I get older. I'm 40. I hit 40 at the end of last month. I need to get a haircut. I've wasted my life making role-playing products. Wasted my life. I'm fiddling with Google settings. Fundamentally, I think we're all gonna end our life fucking around with fucking Google, desperately trying to get some stream settings. Closed captions, no. Analytics, no. Stream health, don't want to know. Edit. It's still a mystery to me. Unless I'm actively helped to do it, I'm probably not going to be able to. God damn it. Honestly, I tend to go with some combination of whatever that thing Gavin Norman's doing. I basically eyeball it with Lamentations rules still. Lamentations basically is one of the neatest rule sets that I've read and has like ascending AC and just has a relatively low level of bullshit. I don't think I'm meant to be standing Raji. I don't really care anymore. I have no idea what's going on with Raji. His latest Facebook thing was typically insane, and the usual wondrous combination of self-justifications, pleas for attention, very, very lengthy descriptions of like his mental state. It's like, and then he confessed that he was doing his entire new set of adventures on short-term credit, which is like, oh my Christ, fucking Raji, like, oh God. What's he gonna do? Is he gonna end up in prison in somewhere in Finland? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be talking shit about other creators online. Possibly. Well, I wasn't really talking shit, was I? Pointing out that Raji is a bit of a strange one isn't really a radical statement. But what are people playing out there these days? Is everyone playing Walkbook or something? Or is everyone playing Old School Essentials? I don't know what the current culture is at all, or if there even is a culture. Category, thumbnail, audience, language, comments and ratings. I mean, you might be getting there. Comment visibility, hold potentially inappropriate comments for review. Let's allow all comments, because that's how we roll around here. Recording date, none. Stream language, no. Playlists, no. Public, yes. Customization, live chat replay, slow mode. I'll turn it on at 1 second. Let's see if this actually works. Everyone type insanely quick. Oh fuck! Here it comes. There we go. Hello, Ben. Nice to see you. I don't think the current culture does have a hub. We really need like an insane narcissist who gathers everyone together in a massive cult and just aims as like a weapon at our enemies. We're all missing that. Yes, Marcelo. We do plan to do a version of Veins of the Earth in A4 and to put it alongside everything else on the Force Parcel store. Don't know how we're going to do it, but the rights return to us at some point in the near future, I think. But relaying it out is going to be a big deal. I don't know if I want to run a Kickstarter for it because, again, it's telling people something they already have. I kind of hate Kickstarter, but it's unavoidable if you want to just stay out of debt. So I may have to do it. We'll have to try and think of some way to do it that's interesting. So it will be kind of like DCO, but hopefully with better layout and larger images from Scrap, because we think Scrap's images really sell really well in A4, and I really like them that way. Cypher on 5e. Dungeon World. Oh, say, hang thy head, Dave Greggs, you provocative son of a bitch. Thank you, Dragon Shade. Oh, the Historians in the Jars is like an information hazard, if you will. There's lots of stuff in the Queen's Tomb in DBS where the idea is that if you're fighting demons and stuff and information that's so dangerous that even if it's destroyed, it could resurrect itself, then the only way to contain it is to kind of hold it in place. And one way this is done is to burn all the histories of a certain period to ash, and along with historians who wrote those histories, and then keep the ash basically in a way where it could be reconstructed by an engine inside the tomb. So neither alive nor dead, but also basically made of ash. And there are jars and jars of ash in the tomb where if you feed them into a certain machine, they could reconstitute into a book of the history of the Demon Wars or an actual historian. Shipping date hopefully before the end of the year. Hopefully, there have been a bit of delays because the lady who's doing the maps is a bit delayed, and there's a lot of playtest stuff to integrate, which I'm working on now. But hopefully before the end of the year, it would be great if we could get it, because I don't want to even think about another Kickstarter or producing another product until we've got this one in people's hands. Once this one's in people's hands, I'm going to probably start pimping out the False Machine book, which is like 10 years of blog posts. I've got like a copy on my desktop here. It's fucking huge. Let me see if I can pull it up. So I'm afraid you're going to be blasted with like insane amounts of False Machine products over the next 2 or 3 years. So Speak False Machine is like a book which is like 617 pages long. It has 8 meta chapters. Every book review, all the cultural commentary, all the invention of worlds that isn't in any of the book, all the sculpture posts, a general history of the blog, every post that's actually about games, which is not that many for a blog essentially about games, and a few of other things. So if we find the time or the place, I've got like the PDF of it in front of me. I will hopefully run a Kickstarter for that if anyone wants it. It's like a 600-page book. God knows if anyone will be into it. I know people like A5. But firstly, I don't. And secondly, I want to not be James Raggi, and I want it to be like very visible that we're not James Raggi. Oh. Yes, I think it is an Nabokov reference. And I like all my titles to be three. Didn't Nabokov do Speak Memory? I don't know. Or was that someone else? I'll show you something else I have in my room, if I can find it. Recently, well, a few months ago, there was a fire in the building where I used to live, and I had to face the exciting choice of what do you grab to pull from your room or where you live in case of a fire. And that's something that very few people actually have to deal with. And I got my laptop, but I also got this, which is a book scrap maybe, which is Far in the Velvet Horizon, self-printed, and it's basically entirely original images and layout for each creature. Don't try and persuade me to A5. Or we're doing A4. I'm not changing a low. The Queen Mab won't be an A4. It'll be a bit smaller, I think. And that will probably be maybe next year. I've had to stall it because I've been so knackered with doing DBS. But yeah, basically expect smaller adventures like... Sorry, I was in the middle of a statement. I'll re-go. Small adventures like Night of the Golden Duck, I probably not. I might do some, but I'm worried about making them good enough. The truth is, they don't, because it's my job, they don't make enough money to support themselves. It's nice to do as a de-stress, but like a hardback book which has had like a lot of quality in it and a lot of like work put into it will basically pay enough for me to make more books. But a small adventure, even if it does quite well relative to its cost, it won't do well enough to keep me like alive. So small adventures, although they're nice to have around, aren't self-sustaining. There's a bunch of ideas I'd like to look into, and all the time I spend working on a small adventure, which is like still trying to make something very good, it's time I can't spend working on other books that will probably pay more and help me keep myself alive. So unlikely. We did Night of the Golden Duck, Scrap came over for a holiday. If I meet up with Scrap again, maybe we'll do another like small adventure, like another little fold-out thing, just because it's nice. I don't really know how to spend time around people normally, so I invented a project for us to talk about while we were actually in three-dimensional space, because I'm not a normal human being. Some people just love small format books. I'm going in the wrong direction, as I so often am in my life. Maybe I'll do an even larger format book. Maybe I'll just be like, fuck all of you. I'll go to A3. I think this print book is A3. I'll make a book so vast, none of you can even look at it. We'll see who's in charge then. Another thing we're doing with Demon-Bone Sarcophagus is that the false machine symbol will be very slightly offset and tilted, because people on Twitter were giving me shit about the fact that Deep Calm Observatory, the text doesn't line up perfectly with other false machine products, so it doesn't look perfect on the shelf. So from this point on, no false machine product will ever line up perfectly with any other false machine product. They will all be slightly offset. None of them will be right. They'll all be like slightly skewed. And if you have them on your shelf, it look like you own books by a bunch of crazy people. And that's what you get for fucking dicking me around on Reddit. Oh, that's a good idea. But am I that good an adventure writer? I feel like, who is that guy? He did a bunch of collections of his black and white adventures, which are also maps, and it was in hardback, but I couldn't afford it in the brief time it was available. And he's an American guy. It seemed like his were really good, and Zartrov does like really good adventures as well. I feel like when it comes to like hardcore adventure design, I'm not that great. I'm like, okay, most of the stuff we can do, me and Scrap, is like through invention, originality of concept, and intensity of vision. But when it comes to like being really, really good at designing adventures, I feel like other people like Trilemma, that's it. I'd like to get a copy of that at some point, but I can't even read the books that I have. I still haven't finished Gormenghast. I should really play and run more games and do a deep study of adventures, since I'm doing this for a job. Yeah, it's been okay. Basically, gradually increasing VAT and postage have been a challenge, and the cost of storage and sending stuff has been a challenge. It costs a lot to just have things stored and a lot to have things sent, even though I know the postage levels for stuff is ridiculous. Sending stuff to America, it's like I'm still losing money on the books that we send. And Brexit has been a little bit of a challenge. I have like a company called Spiral Galaxy who do all the work for me, but that's still, that means instead of doing admin, I'm paying people actual money to do admin for me, which still means I'm changing time for cash. Last financial year, I was just about able to meet my tax requests and just about able to pay off my fulfillment people, but that basically like flattened me out. I don't have anything left. So this Kickstarter is pretty much my seed money for the coming financial year or from now on. So I'm glad it did okay. Still, hopefully if we can get more books up, then the margins on them will be enough that I don't like basically end up becoming bankrupt at the end of after every tax payment. Although gloriously, 98 minutes to go. Oh, we're past 37,000. Oh. They're raising national insurance in the UK, so that old people don't have to sell their homes, which is ironic because I'm sitting in my mum's house right now. She owns it, so I'll be paying taxes so that she doesn't have to sell this to pay for her end-of-life care. I guess perhaps that works out. Who can say? I hope so. I hope Goose Golden Goblins becomes a thing. It's on like the list. It's still on the priority list. I know things have slipped off there, like Lantern and Chromate, because I have a limited amount of stuff that I can work on. It would be really nice to do. If I can trick Louise Sugden into doing the Goblins, I'll definitely do it. It's called Beavertown Gamma Ray American Pale Ale, 5.4%. And I got this for the Sainsbury's down the road. That Sainsbury's is a garage as well, so I'm pretty sure they shouldn't be selling alcohol, but I guess they do. Becoming more incoherent as time goes on. Scrap did a really good cover for DBS. I feel like people stand the back cover a bit more, but I like the front cover. What is the meaning of life? No, I'm on two things. All right, close that. Well done to everyone who helped me fix the slow mode problem, by the way. It was a group effort. It was a method between the group and my one remaining brain cell. Dave Greggs, you ran Dungeon World. What happened when you ran my games? I feel like maybe they would go okay in Dungeon World because they're not that... They're very, like, person-y. There's lots of NPCs, there's lots of motivations, there's lots of, like, fluid stuff. I feel like it might not go that badly if it went into Dungeon World. Let me have a look. Oh, if you paid 75 quid, yeah. Basically, what do you want? I can send you, like, I can try and send you a signed copy of something. If you pay 75 quid, there's one left of 12, so there's like one left if someone wants to go for the £75 one. But if we make the vault plans, I'll definitely try and get them to everyone. I want to make them. I just need to check how much it's going to cost to print them and whether it's going to be worth it. I really do want to make them, and it would only be it would be 1,000 copies that I would have to basically give away, quote unquote, for free, even though people have kind of paid for them. But I feel like it would be... I just really want the scene when someone's playing the game where they hand over where someone picks the vault plans, which, by the way, have not come across well in playtesting, so I'm going to have to rewrite that and restructure it. But someone like says you pull the plans from the dead person's hand, and they hand them the plans, and they open them, and it's the plan to a heist in detail, and that would be so cool if they're gathered around the table and like it's the heist to a vault, and they're like in the place we've never even been to, and here's like the security guards, and here's like the codes, and here's all the details of reaching it. That would be so based. Yeah, it's a folded poster. It's like A2, I think. Yeah, that makes sense, Dave. Just that's how Vaint is meant to be used, really. Just pulling bits and pieces out of it. If anyone has stuff they really want to see in the new Veins of the Earth when we produce it, let me know here, and we'll try and put it in if I can remember, which I probably won't, but you can still ask. Where are we? Maybe I should give it to Demon-Bone Sarcophagus. What do we even have in DB? I tried to pick out the best bits of writing to put with the images. Have I shown you the map? That's the map for DBS. That's the scratch-built version. That's not the final cartography version. That's basically the tomb. Dimensional tears, doors. I'm sure people love the cool stuff. There's Wensley Shrive. Scrap. It does need cities and villages. All right, we'll definitely try and put that in. He's relatively important. Scrap did like a much darker, but she looks like she did like he was played by Mark Strong in this. He's not meant to be that evil in the text, but maybe that works. Hold on. I read you, Ryan. I'm gonna have to go back up and try and read what people have been writing. Yeah, like mapping three-dimensional spaces in like a procedural way is like a very non-trivial problem, as someone described it to me. I don't knowingly have any particular places I go back to, Ryan. I don't know. I go into my like weird dream state and I write, or sometimes I just sit and press stare at a problem until I can think of something. I did like a bookshelf tour earlier, and that's kind of my influences. But pretty standard if you know like the nerd type that I am. pretty standard influences. I think the books that I read for Veins in particular, I read a lot of geology, a lot of like Archean history and evolutionary history. If you like deep time itself, nature, I guess nature is my, Ryan, when I sit down to think about my influences, I have to say that nature itself is my reference book. Tips wine glass back. But yeah, that is like true. There are many wonderful things in the earth. If you go out and look deeply at the world around you and try and learn about it, it will have a lot of strange connections and strange things in it, which can be translated into the world of the imagination relatively well, with a degree of like oomph. I feel bad for a reductor. She's had a rough time. Oh, she is a terrible person. Here is a acid baron who are going to be, you'll meet one maybe in DBS, and you may, if you play through all 3 adventures, meet him again at the end of the thing in very different circumstances. If CBS was a music album, the 7 adventure, what genre would it be? I don't know, because I need like 3 different musical genres that can feed into each other, don't I? It's quite closed and relatively ruthless, but it's got a lot of possibilities inside it. Do I know enough about music to make even a slightly coherent statement about this? I don't think I do. I guess like an anime theme from some like relatively good 1980s early anime, which is mainly electronica. Grime. Oh, there we go. Grime might do it. I can't use OSR bloggers' work in Veins because it gets too weirdly complicated. This is like when you talk about comic book writers, like I can read your script. Well, no, I can't read your script. I can read your published comic when it's related, but I can't read your script. Like you have no idea about the levels of like potential drama when it comes to. Yeah, exactly. Scrap's work is really. I'll probably just have Scrap do this soundtrack, but like there have been a number of complicated situations with like. Everyone in the OSR, especially back in the day, stole from each other, and no one was making any money, and everyone was just like vibing off each other's stuff, and it was very clean and simple because no one was very rich, apart from Zach, who was making some money off it. And now more people are making money, and like it's become an actual route to wealth. It's become like a very different thing, and yeah, it's challenging, and the culture has changed. Like back in the day in 2015 or 2013, if I read a blog post and someone had just like done a version of my stuff, I would have been like, hey, cool, man. But now if it's like in a book, and if it's a version of my stuff, I'm like, oh, this makes me feel weird. Here is the Isopod Convoy. Again, test images. If you can find that, that will be a helpful route into Adventure 2. Appendix A, treasure totals. Bag of monkey teeth, 1 copper piece. Black diamond heart, 500 currency, black diamonds, 10 in total, black pearls, black vases with irrational incense, blue blood powder, blue monocle, blue blood pus, book of sapphire leaves. Try to get your hands on that. Books. I've been reading. I was reading Gormenghast, and I finished the second part. So only Titus Alone Remains, which is like the weird modernist one. Gormenghast is lovely. And I've been reading a book I got about Ray Harryhausen, which I got on a trip to Edinburgh. It's written by his daughter, and it's basically like a little one of those 100 images about Ray Harryhausen, and she writes about her memories of like hanging out with him and what it was like and his career. But they had an exhibition of his stuff on, that was wonderful. And this just arrived, a pre-order, which I can't really afford. But Kento Miura's Berserk, the super posh version, like volume 8. This is an amazing book. Someone who was like a weeb recommended Berserk to me ages and ages and ages ago. And I picked up the first volume and paperback and I thought, oh, this is just a standard fighting book. It isn't very good. And then later on I saw the one of the early animated versions. I was like, this is amazing, and I started buying these, and it's genuinely a work of art. I don't know. Probably not wait, because it takes so long for them to come out. They should be relatively separate. So DBS all happens in and around the Tomb of the Fire Queen, which is basically once you're done there, you're done and you can leave. And then the next adventure site is the Zone, which is still in the same world, but it's like geographically coherently separate. So if you quit DBS and then basically say, everyone write down what you've got and your motivations, and then wait for a year and then run Frictionless Blue Glass, it should be okay, because people will remember the main gist of it, I think. And then between Frictionless Blue Glass and Palaces of Fire, you literally have to enter another dimension, which is like a major event, and you could run that fluidly as if it's one major thing, or you could again leave a gap between them. It should be okay if you wait, I think. I'd like it to be. I hope that it is. Facebook does not like you posting links at all. GPS. Oh, we're not doing that badly. 85 minutes to go. What are people listening to anyway out there in the world? I barely understand what's happening with music. Oh, right, we've had a look at some DBS. We've had a bit of Gormenghast. We've had some Broken Fire Regime. We've had some riddles. What else do I have? Do I want to dig into the Norton Anthology of Poetry? I could take a look. Water and air. Yes, I know pretty much the general gist of it. The air cycle will be called Literal Storm Corsairs. And it will be something more like You and Serin, like a book, which basically, instead of being an adventure, it will be like a setting, and it will be like a random generation setting where you set it up for yourself and then have the players adventure in it. And it's basically, yes, Jayhawk. I've got to go back. But Literal Storm Corsairs is basically your sky pirates in a world which is in the surface of a gas giant. That's where the adventure or the setting is. It's like a fantasy world, but in the envelope of a gas giant where you can breathe. And there's been a few science fiction writers who have written about it, but I don't think any fantasy writers have done that. So Sky Pirates. And then Cold Pelagic Maze is, I don't know exactly what it's about. I know that it's set beneath the ocean. I know that some of the key players are gigantic. God damn it, what's the name? They're like worms. Those very, very sea slugs, giant sea slug people. And that something terrible is happening. Like there are wolves of ice, I think, that it's freezing. I think that it's like the ocean is freezing and like you're meant to stop it. And Cold Pelagic Maze is meant to be a high-level adventure, which, as anyone will tell you, is a very difficult thing to do. So that will be the last one of the Elemental Trilogy. I don't know what form it will take or how many books it will be. I will look that up. I was just thinking I can't go straight to it. Farino, not really, not for Gormenghast. Gormenghast is exactly as there are two initial books. There's Titus Grown and Gormenghast, and they're both exactly as good as each other. I think for the third one, his health is definitely on his way, and it's really a printing of his notes. So I haven't read that yet, but he's still pretty much on it for the first two. And yes, Jayhawk, peak describing like a shadow is like based as fuck. It's amazing. It's difficult to That's true, actually. It's not really fair to call Spelljammer cringe. It does have like slightly cringy elements, but on the other hand, that cringe is a necessity if you're going to be like bold. It's cringe as a function of its confidence, boldness, and forwardness. So we can't really judge it poorly for that. Anyone with courage and the willingness to imagine like ridiculous hippopotamus soldier people in space would produce something cringe, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know. It will now, and you've mentioned it, because I haven't read the books about exoplanets and gas giants to do the research for LSC. But now that you've brought that up, definitely I will. I guess that gives us like a what the hell is a supercritical fluid? I'm gonna Google that right now. Highly compressed gases and liquids, intriguing. Oh, so it has some of the qualities of a gas and some of a liquid. Ooh, so it's liquid turning into gas and gas into liquid. Carbon dioxide. So that would be the sea, wouldn't it? It would be like the bottom of the ocean if you're in a gas giant. You can effuse through porous solids like gas, overcoming mass transfer limitations. It can dissolve. Oh, so it dissolves things. That's interesting. And it's dangerous. So I guess that might be a threat if you're like a sky pirate in the gas giant. That's like if you go in there, it's not going to be great, is it? Supercritical drying. Oh, it does a lot of weird chemical things. Ooh. You see, this is why I think hopefully it will be a good book, because there's like a whole biodiesel production. Sorry, I'm rambling. No, I get like the tone of Spelljammer. If you're an edgy like hipster, it's slightly off. It's you kind of want something, I guess, something more like the bits of Planescape that are kind of slightly darker and weirder. Possibly, although I've never run Spelljammer, so I don't really know. But I'd like Dave McGurgan was obsessed with using not obsessed, but he did like trading stuff, and it would be cool if you could make a trading system interesting in the sky. Although it's hard to do. There we go. Yeah, so like if you were floating a gas giant, how would your plantations and your like farming work? I guess instead of, since any location is accessible, it would be the soil itself, which is like the primary resource. And then once you have soil, it's easy because you just float it to wherever you need it to be. And you're like, okay, we need this much gas of this kind, and you go to like a fertile layer, and there would be like huge pilgrimages of like soil barges following the sun, or they're like the most effective boundary for like combination of gas and air and light that you need in order to grow this stuff. And then so the nice thing about a sky world is that instead of places, you have vectors. So like instead of having like a fertile pleasant or a fertile plain or a river, there's like a particular vector or pattern of movement or like path, which is like the most fertile. So your farmlands are themselves a river of movement. And yeah. And your cities, I imagine, would be where those places coalesce. Spiders would be very dangerous in the air. They could, if you imagine their web spinning abilities. Christopher Mennel reblogged me. That's nice of him. Yes. See, thinking about that would be like, that's the really interesting part. I wonder if the thing is, I guess with Little Storm Corsairs, it's the again, it's space because, like caving with veins, it's a three-dimensional space which you're trying to communicate in like the folk relation pattern of D&D, and it's trying to understand all the potentialities of this space and turn it into like a functional system which can be communicated to normal people. And I've played, Richard G was doing like a book for Lamentations, which was about like, he's like a historian of the Age of Sail, he was like, is a friend, I still write to him, but he was more connected during the G Plus era. He was doing like a Lamentations book for like running ships in the Age of Sail, and it was really good. I thought, or pretty good. And imagine, but it was complicated because there were so many like running a ship is so difficult and has so many very particular things to do with it that you can't really do it simply. So in order to make it a game, you have to understand the whole process and kind of reduce it. And then to do that for a three-dimensional space with imaginary sky ships, would that even be possible? We will find out, possibly, unless I die of COVID or something. Oh, we've got an hour left. Scrap has not replied to my most recent email, but hopefully that's okay. Vote, people, should I have my last drink or wait till 10? So we have an hour left. I don't think I'll die of COVID-14 because I don't think anything can kill me. I seem to just survive, like Mr. Silver in that Bond film where he says life clings to me like a disease. I just keep going. No one knows why, but yeah. Slightly more backers, 1,320, 75 minutes to go. We've had like a slight bonus. What's going to happen next? Terrifying, isn't it? I don't know, Hawk, because I haven't, like, it's years in the future and it'll come after Storm Corsairs. But yeah, I read Stephen Pine's The Ice, which has a lot of stuff about the ice. And the fact that it's like a dual environment where you've got like the water under pressure, you've got the seafloor, and you've got like, these pinnacles of ice reaching out, was kind of interesting to me. And it's very, very protein rich. Oh, there's lots and lots of krill. So there's lots of stuff that could potentially live there. So it's not impossible to reimagine as like a complex three-dimensional landscape. And of course it shifts and changes with the ice itself because the gradual freezing, if you imagine what the world was like beneath the ice packs of the last ice age, because it wouldn't have melted, it wouldn't have frozen the entire water. So there would still have been oceans active, probably beneath like the North Pole and the South Pole, even at their maximum extent. So that's like a vast area of the Earth, which is just this deeply compressed, endless plain of like water beneath the rock and the ice above. Be pretty weird, pretty interesting. That sense of pressure and isolation, but combined with an enormous lightness because ice is translucent. So what would that actually be like? Oh. I'll see if there's anything more in Broken Fire Regime that I can find that's interesting. There's too many animals here, because again, we got me and Scrap Boys and inventing too many animals. And we have this wedding with like a whole bunch of guests where like that's got to be removed. That's got to be removed. That's just bad. Man, I wrote this a long time ago. I'll give you Duke Clasp because he's one of like the more interesting, the good characters. Ducalas. His skin is the crusted surface of a self-forming world, like black continents moving on a molten sea. His eyes are orbs of ultra-heated iron, radiating infrared. A halo of deep red tectonic fire curls into elegant spirals of thought. You find him. Can I have 2d4 rolls, please? Come on, people. I turn slow mode off. Just roll a d4 twice. 3 and 3. You find Ducalasp quickly and deftly modeling one of the PCs in cooling gold as if it were clay, and he wants you to do what is needed to preserve peace in the palaces. Ducalasp has engineered the cores of living worlds and bound titans. His dreams can cause volcanoes. He sees House Calasp as the working of a mighty clock. The planet's core was his design. He has a calming influence and prefers cooperation over conflict. He wants to tie Calasp and Zor together so that the old claim of Calasp to the palaces of fire can be satisfied without mutual violence and death. If betrayed, he will weep silent tears of boiling gold. I need a better description of the place you find them in is called Fuel Fast. Center of Calasp Fire. Inside are a selection of fully equipped forges, metal shops, engineering benches, ceramic baking ovens, vats of cryolite and liquid sulfur cooling, and models for future palaces and various other buildings. Rare materials and metals like adamantium and vibranium are easy to find. Foundries exist here that can create the conditions for any kind of gem or stone, even the most unusual. Does this need to be right? Probably. Pockets and shores that tidally flooded and drained under the ice. The Inuit climb down into them. So if you're an Inuit, you'd be climbing down into like an ice cavern. How the fuck do you climb down there? I guess do you climb down? It's on the. It's near the shore though, so I guess you're climbing down onto ground. But there's going to be an ice cavern above you. Sounds dangerous. I'm going to grab my last drink, and we have like an hour, I think, and a bit to go. Who wants to hear some more possible eugenics, unconfirmed, from the 1930s? Everyone, right? Yeah, everyone. Madness maketh the man. Evening parties. Marks of vulgarity. Analyze each one of these acts and it resolves itself into a concession towards the feelings, the vanity, or the comfort of others. Its essence is unselfishness. Its animating spirit is forbearance. The proposition is demonstrable by a process of reversal. Is goodness be the parent of politeness? Is not badness the parent of vulgarity? Is not bad temper vulgar? Is not selfishness vulgar? Is not scandal vulgar? Are not greediness, egotism, inquisitiveness, prevarication, lying, and dishonesty all, one and all, utterly vulgar? In a word, is not vice vulgar? In paying a visit or in seeking company, it is manifestly a compliment to be well-dressed and an insult to be slovenly. I have failed that test so many times. But even in a casual encounter and upon occasions when your habit can have no connection with the feelings and sentiments which you have towards those whom you meet, neat and careful dressing will bring great advantage to you. A negligent guise shows a man to be satisfied with his own resources, engrossed with his own notions and schemes, indifferent to the opinion of others, and not looking abroad for entertainment. I feel attacked right now. To such a man, no one feels encouraged to make any advances. A finished dress indicates a man of the world, one who looks for and habitually finds pleasure in society and conversation, and who is at all times ready to mingle in intercourse with those whom he meets. It is a kind of general offer of acquaintance and proves a willingness to be spoken to. Dress is the livery of good society, and no one can get practice in his profession who does not wear the badge of his calling. Opinions? Veins. I think the Anti-Phoenix is like the best one, maybe. That nearly won like an any, right? Well, the zone is highly forested partly because it's been artificially altered, because the company won't let fires happen there. They have a mechanism to prevent any fires taking place, and that means that it's kind of in its original fire regime, it would have been much more open because there would have been regular fires to remove brushwood. But as it is, there's been a huge amount of fuels built up and lots of extra growth, and it's very dark and like simultaneously very hot and dry, but also very sweaty inside. So that's part of the reason it's called broken fire regime, because it's literally a broken fire regime, and also in the environmental sense a broken fire regime. Not sure if that answers your question, if it was a question. I don't think I would use the Anti-Phoenix either, Omar. Sorry. Like, would I tear my own book up? I probably wouldn't. Attentions to be shown to strangers. If, on the other hand, a stranger sends you a letter of introduction and his or her card, for the law of etiquette here holds good for both sexes, you're bound not only to call next day, but to follow up that attention by others. If you're in a position to do so, the next correct proceeding is to send an invitation to dinner. Should this not be within your power, you can probably escort the stranger to some exhibition, concert, public building, museum, or other place likely to prove interesting to a foreigner or provincial visitor. In short, etiquette demands that you shall exert yourself to show kindness to the stranger, if only out of compliment to the friend who introduced him to you. If you invite strangers to dinner or tea, it is a better compliment to ask some others than to dine with them alone. You are thereby affording them an opportunity of making other acquaintances and are assisting your friend in still further promoting the purpose for which he gave the introduction to yourself. Be careful at the same time only to ask such persons as you are quite sure are the stranger's own social equals. Ooh. That's interesting. I did not know that, J-Hawk. Here is an image of the prima donna. We've all seen this lady at the debutante ball, right? Protracted visit to the ladies' toilet. Turkish style of dress. Dinner parties, table furnishings. How to converse well. Witticisms at the expense of others. If you have wit, which I am not sure that I wish you, unless you have at the same time an equal portion of judgment to keep it in good order, Wear it like a sword in the scabbard, and do not brandish it to the terror of the whole company. Wit is a shining quality that everybody admires. Most people aim at it, all people fear it, and few love it, unless in themselves. A man must have a good share of wit himself to endure a great share in another. When wit exerts itself in satire, it is a most malignant distemper. Wit, it is true, may be shown in satire, but satire does not constitute wit, as many imagine. A man of wit ought to find 1,000 better occasions of showing it. Abstain, therefore, most carefully from satire, which, though it fall on no particular person in the company, and momentarily from the malignancy of the human heart, pleases all, yet upon reflection it frightens all. Everyone thinks it may be his turn next, and will hate you for what he finds you could say of him, more than be obliged to you for what you do not say. Fear and hatred are next door neighbors. The more wit you have, the more good nature and politeness you must show to induce people to pardon your superiority, for that is no easy matter. Appear to have rather less than more wit than you really have. A wise man will live at least as much within his wit as his income. Content yourself with good sense and reason, which the long run are ever sure to please everybody who has either. If wit comes into the bargain, welcome it, but never invite it. Bear this truth always in your mind, that you may be admired for your wit, if you have any, but that nothing but good sense and good qualities can make you be beloved. These are substantial everyday's wear, whereas wit is a holiday suit which people put on chiefly to be stared at. Avoid raillery. Wow. What an interesting world it would be if we were all trying not to be too witty, avoiding raillery, trying to be agreeable if not brilliant, giving short answers in plain English, and exhibiting a prudent reserve. This social world this implies is really fascinating. So all the people being very, very carefully agreeable to each other, whilst carefully judging each other for going over those agreeable limits. I can't tell if it's better or worse than our world. I kind of agree with meaningful parts of it, to be honest. But I'm not sure if I could stand living in the reality it creates. Oh, that is an interesting parallel. Yeah, the fire regimes in the US are going to be a massive problem, I think. There's an interview with Stephen Pine where he talks about it. There's a few things on a few YouTube videos with low hits where he talks about where he's interviewed about various things. And it's like, once you've pushed it past a certain extent, it gets very hard to amend it without chaos or catastrophe from a human perspective. Everyone get excited. Everyone start being thrilled because we're only an hour away from the finish line. 37,238. It's been a big thing in the last 58 minutes to go. 130 something backers. Oh, there's still one Master Maroon level left. Whoa, 3. Who? I always feel weird about these very high level pledges because it feels wrong. I don't know why. It feels wrong I feel like it's just a book, really, and you're getting a few extra things. But 3 people spent £300 or more. And if I was being economically rational, I would be like, yeah, have a lot of big pledges for people. But just, I don't know, even though it's technically good, it feels, I don't know, I have weird emotions about it. Dave Craig's. Things are getting weird, Dave. I'm not sure about how relationships developing. Are you going to penetrate me with capitalism? Hasn't Kickstarter been going mental recently? Aren't there a bunch of things that made like an insane amount of money? There's like Mark Diaz Truman and like the Avatar thing. So he's made bazillions on that, I assume. And then there's that Exalted Funeral thing, which is like Herbalist's Guide, which has done like really, 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 really well. Bye. Bye, Griffixation. Thank you for coming. God, I'm horrific. Has anyone watched Dave Gregg's interview with Dave McGrogan? Because I haven't watched the whole thing. But if anyone's got like, oh, I started watching, but events took hold of me. If anyone has like a pressy for me, I'm tempted to do like a live react, or just like me watching other YouTube videos and being like, whoa, I can't believe they did that. I'm going to dig into the Norse anthology first. Where is it? Thomas Wyatt. See, the reason I am interested in Thomas Wyatt is because Hilary Mantel goes on and on and on about him in the Thomas Cromwell trilogy, which I did a review on. But he's apparently one of the few writers that her basically Mary Sue character likes. They flee from me that sometime did me seek, with naked foot stalking in my chamber. I have seen them, gentle, tame, and meek, that now are wild, and do not remember that sometime they put themselves in danger to take bread at my hand, and now they range, busily seeking with a continual change. Thanked be fortune, it hath been otherwise 20 times better, but once in special, in thin array, after a pleasant guise, when her loose gown from her shoulders did fall, and she me caught in her arms, long and small, and therewith all sweetly did me kiss, and softly said, Dear heart, how like you this? It was no dream, I lay broad waking, but all is turned through my gentleness into a strange fashion of forsaking, that I have leave to go of her goodness, and she also to use newfangleness. But since that I so kindly am served, I fain would know what she hath deserved. It's more post-Elizabethan relationship dramas. That was really good, but also, is this all going to be about sex? Yes, it is. People love Herbalist Primus. How will they use it in a game though? 'Cause, like, don't the DM and the player both need a copy of it? But with Hot Springs Island, that was the whole thing. They had like they had a DM's version and a player's version, so that when the players asked questions about like the herbs of this island, there were coherent, easily referenceable answers. But when it's a single book, I think it would be a challenge to integrate into a living game. Like any very hyper-specialized form of knowledge, we want to simulate them in games, but to do so, it can be very challenging. It's like the cyberpunk problem where one person's like a hacker and like they're basically playing a sub game for a lot of everyone else is playing in the main world. Oh, that long interview with the Germans. I listen to stuff while I'm painting, to be honest. That's how I paint all these little models. I think there are lots of witchy women who like cats and Neil Gaiman who are just really into plants, gotta say it. I know at least one person in here was into like, I know my yeah, people like plants. It's basically, it's like a real life herbalist's guide with magical stuff added. Not added, but stuff from like, it's the equivalent of the dictionary of phrase and fable, but for plants, where it's like, it might have this magical property, but also with the illusion that you could, how much of RPG playing is just an excuse to read something that really you're not going to use in the game, but you just want to find out about? Like, I need to read this report on bronze swords for reasons. Do you? It's true it can, but it isn't like that kind of specialized knowledge very often a complex relationship between GM and player in play. I guess it can develop in play. Maybe it can grow. Like an OSR game, if you have like a regular range of players, even if it starts out from a low area of knowledge, the relationship between the DM and the player can grow, and the depth of knowledge can also grow, and other players can become accustomed to both the nature of that knowledge turning up and the exercise of it in game. So it could become like an organic thing, I think. Maybe you're right. My galley, charged with forgetfulness, through sharp seas in winter nights doth pass. Between rock and rock, and eke mine enemy, alas, that is my lord, steereth with cruelness, and every oar a thought in readiness, as though that death were light in such a case. An endless wind doth tear the sail apace, of forced sighs and trusty fearfulness. A rain of tears, a cloud of dark disdain, hath done the wearied chords great hindrance. Wreathed with error and eke with ignorance, the stars be hid that led me to this pain. Drowned is reason that should me consort, and I remain despairing of the port. Again, that seems like it's probably about sex. Maybe I'm just too much of like a basic guy, but I kind of want a poem about wind and rain to be about wind and rain. That's enough for me. Emerson, Keats. Where's Dover Beach? That has to be in here. There it is. Let's read the poem about the 20th and probably 21st century. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full, the moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand, glimmering and vast, out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray, the sea meets the moon-blanched land. Listen, you hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling at their return. Up the high strand, begin and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence, slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear, and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, or help for pain, and we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. Arnold is very good at turning science into very tangible and workable D&D stuff. Perhaps unsurprisingly, poetry has driven off about a third of my listeners. That's just life, I suppose. Oh. How do people make money streaming? Because it seems to be like a major thing. Even though when I look at streams, it's not like most people don't get a huge number of like watchers and listeners. Do I need to become an anime girl? Because I will do it if it's the only way to survive. All right, edging towards the middle of 37,000. 45 minutes to go. I've tried having a Patreon, but like I fucked it up and then I got depressed. And it feels weird. I'm happy charging people for books because it seems, in my confused morality, honorable to charge people for like a solid product, like an actual thing. Okay. But like all internet money is like tinged with madness, as Dave just pointed out. So charging money for a product just seems like a fig leaf over the insanity of internet money. Whereas if you're just charging for like access to like a stream or something, it starts to feel increasingly weird and disturbing. I found out quite recently that near me, there's like a hidden company, and what they make is furniture with secret compartments in it. And all they have is like one website, but they have a building, and their website looks old. It's like they don't really want to advertise very much, or they're ambivalent about it. But if you look on it, you can find that they take old furniture and they repurpose it into furniture with the same furniture, but nicer and with secret compartments. Exactly, 14. Actually, Dave, I think the Fallen Titan has an OnlyFans because, I don't know, he got kicked off everything else. But yeah, maybe I need to get a Substack. Maybe that's like the only real future. Heshtrox thinkers always have like a fucking always have a Substack. Well, yeah. 45 minutes. I need to have more energy, but I've had too many drinks. More energy, Patrick. Pimp the Kickstarter, Patrick. Maybe I need to offer everyone a sense of identity, or like a belief that your life has meaning. Look, if you back my Kickstarter, I guarantee you'll wake up tomorrow knowing your life has meaning. And that's a legal promise. I will sign a contract with you immediately with that as its basis. I don't know. It just feels. I feel okay. I like doing stuff for free. It feels, even though my blog hasn't been that great for a while, because I don't have that long to work on posts. I'd like doing it for free. It feels like noble. It feels pleasurable. It's nice to have a bit of your life that is that is uncapitalized, where it's basically free, and if someone doesn't like it, they can just leave. I guess because I favor base reality, and like a three-dimensional object feels inherently more real to me than a series of bits on a computer, and so I kind of want to retain that sense of reality in a world that is basically crumbling around its edges. I need to stop. I'm going to stop hitting refresh on the Demon-Bone Sarcophagus Kickstarter. How many of these fucking maps do I need to make if I do make them? Book in the PDF, 279. Almost everyone went in for the maps. That's 856. And then 9 more, and 12 more, and 3 more. So like 1,000 maps. If I print 2,000, it won't cost that much for a map. But the thing is, I need to find a printer who will understand what it is and can do me like weird yellow paper that feels like it needs to feel like fantasy-ish. I will not allow a basic map. It needs to feel like fantasy bullshit. You can use Veins of the Earth to smash in someone's head, Dave. It's heavy enough, I think. Well, no, it wouldn't kill them, but you could clamp them with it. If you have all my books, you can bind them into armor and just clad yourself in them as like book mail. Is this girl having to play tennis in the middle of the night in the UK? Oh, it's in New York, so it's not the middle of the night. All right. Well, I'll do more riddles. It's the only way forward at this stage. I'm going to ask the few remaining people like a really difficult one. Oh no, I'll ask you a thematic one. This shouldn't be too hard. All right, here we go. Born of my parents' frozen hard resilience, as tinder quickly added to youthful brilliance, I can surpass their fate with my own force, since only water knocks me off my course. But when I'm freed from nature's law, I strike at forests, rocks, tin, iron, and the like. While I'm alive, I'm like a brilliant star, then, crushed by fate, I stay more black than tar. Anyone? You want me to reread it? I'll reread it. We can afford one more reading. Born of my parents' frozen hard resilience, as tinder quickly added to my youthful brilliance, I can surpass their fate with my own force, since only water knocks me off my course. But when I'm freed from nature's law, I strike at forests, rocks, tin, iron, and the like. While I'm alive, I'm like a brilliant star. Then, crushed by fate, I stay more black than tar. You got it. It's Leo Caldernite. Nailed it. It's fire. Fire theme. Leo got it. It wasn't an easy one. It was easy for Alzheimer's riddles. I'm going to ask you a nightmarishly stupid one. What's like the worst one I can ask? Let's see if this one, number 89. No, that isn't that good. Sorry, that was just a bookcase. I'll read you the bookcase one because it's too obvious. God's holy words now fill my inner part and bear the sacred books with all my heart. And yet from them I'm not much edified. By fate this gift has sadly been denied, as fierce fates steal the light that books provide. This will be a nightmare. Surely this won't be bad. Oh, it's too obvious again. Our newborn race was fortunate at first, until the devil's cunning made it cursed. I caused the ancient fall from innocence. I gave sweet apples to fresh immigrants. Behold, I witnessed earth's renewed salvation, when, spread on wood, the judge of every nation, and thunder's holy son, paid reparation. He definitely got worse as he went on. It was fire, I told you guys. That was the last one. This one should be obvious. A genius misunderstood in his own time. Think for a second, if you can, about how hard it is to be me. I kind of don't look that bad, to be honest. When I was cutting my hair, I was basically taking 10 years off my face. And that still leaves me at like 35. Taking 5 years off. There's a really good part where Saldus, I'm reading Gormagus, where Saldus reads, here it is. Saldus returned to his position behind the table, which he held alone, and was relatively more impressive now that the crag of Flay and the mound of Swelter no longer dwarfed him. He lifted his voice again, but it was hard for him to speak, for there were tears in his throat, and the magnitude of his office weighed heavily on him. As a savant in the grown law, he knew himself to be spiritually responsible for the correct procedure. Moments such as this were the highlights in the ritualistic cycle of his life. Suns and the changing of the seasonal moons, the leaves from trees that cannot keep their leaves, and the fish from olive waters have their voices. His hands were held before him as though in prayer, and his wrinkled head was startlingly apparent in the clear light of the room. His voice grew stronger. Stones have their voices, and the quills of birds, the anger of the thorns, the wounded spirits, the antlers, ribs that curve, bread, tears, and needles, blunt boulders, and the silence of cold marshes, these have their voices, the insurgent clouds, the cockerel and the worm. Saldus bent down over his book and found the place with his finger and then turned the page. Voices that grind at night from lungs of granite, lungs of blue air, and the white lungs of rivers. All voices haunt all moments of all days. All voices fill the crannies of all regions. Voices that he shall hear when he has listened, and when his ears turned to Gormenghast, whose voice is endlessness of endlessness. This is the ancient sound that he must follow, the voice of stones heaped up into grey towers, until he dies across the groan's death turret, and banners are ripped down from the wall, and buttresses, and he is carried to the Tower of Towers, and laid among the mouldering of his fathers. How much more is there? Said the Countess. She had been listening less attentively than the occasion merited, and was feeding with crumbs from her pockets in her dress a grey bird on her shoulder. Here's... Oh, hold on. Which was the last one? I read a bunch, so you've got to tell me. It was apples, apple tree. It even mentions apples in it. Sorry. Does anyone have any ideas about what Gormenghast is for? I mean, in the imagined world, diegetically, because it definitely doesn't make any sense as like an actual castle. But it has these weird rituals, this ancient history which seems to go on forever, and the world around it is completely disconnected. I always imagined that it's a kind of fairy castle, and it's performing some kind of. Look, it's not my fault that Aldon was kind of a prick when it came to fucking riddles. All right. Anyone who calls himself a riddle master is going to be an arsehole. What's an Ecumenopolis? Now you're making me look stuff up. Oh, planet-wide city. Maybe. What do the rituals do, though? Are they sustaining something? Are they keeping something back? Are they making something live? I felt a lot like Gormenghast was Britain when I was reading it, like because Peak was born in like Shanghai or China, and only came back to Britain later on. And I felt like in his relationship, in Titus's relationship with Gormenghast, like it was Peak's relationship to Britain, that mingling of love and hate. Half an hour. Can I think of things to say in that period of time? Probably no. Are there social medias these days? Where do people go to find out about OSR stuff? Is there a place people go? I guess there isn't. Maybe we've already covered that. That's probably true, Dave Greggs, yeah. Like, I mean, the rituals probably do literally provide some kind of magical post-physical capacity that keeps the actual building up. I am not going to improvise verse. It's always terrible. Don't shame your ancestors by suggesting such a terrible thing. Oh. I think we've done about as well as we're going to do on DBS. It didn't do that badly. It did not do that badly. If anyone asks you about the cost of being cancelled, tell them the cost is £2,700. Or roughly 5% of your annual income. Not that much. I probably, oh yeah, I need to thank people. Maybe, yeah. I wish more people could, like, the tragedy of the carving is still fucking bites at me even now. Perhaps a secret fulcrum of reality, a secret fulcrum of society, a ritual space, like the Black Temples in pagan Britain. I read Ben Milton's, Glastonat, which is all I really know. I'm surprised he manages to read all those blogs still. Don't know how he does it. There are still so many blogs. I don't know how everyone needs to keep going. Oh, I had a Twitter thing last year. Look at like the top post on my Twitter, or don't if you want your mental health to remain sane. I always think that's why every day Kickstarter sends you a thing saying this many people backed your thing and this many people. There's like a green number saying this many people paid this much, and then there's like a cancellation number, and the cancellation number for the last few days has been like at least 50% of the green number. So that'll send you mental. That's basically how internet society enforces agreeableness. You have to be agreeable and you have to be likable, or you don't survive. And you don't have a choice. So instead of trying to please your boss at work, you're now trying to please a bunch of internet people. Or at least not to enrage them. Ooh. Oh, I know what I could do. I've got Herbie here. I could, in agonizing manner, read out or describe the panels of a comic of Herbie. There's no way this could go wrong. Or become tiresome. Herbie, panel 1. Read every word of the story, reader. Study every picture. Better not fail to laugh either. Miss up one thing and you'll get your head handed to you on a platter. You see, there's a very special story headed your way, and this is it. Got a real fat title too. Title: Herbie in Look at All the Herbies. Story: an O'Shea blue plate special. Art: Whitney, real classy like. The image in panel 1 is our titular character Herbie looking into a mirror which shows infinite receding Herbies. That's fine, 14. You don't need to. I had a guy on the Force Machine blog write a comment saying, "Oh, I didn't realize this Kickstarter was on. I nearly missed it." And I couldn't tell whether he was mocking me or whether he was telling the truth. Because I was like, I've been whoring myself out relentlessly for what feels like a long time. And I hate myself to the extent to which I've been going, blah, 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 Kickstarter, blah, 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 Kickstarter, blah, 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 Kickstarter. And I'm like, is he mocking? Is he making fun of me? Or did he really not know? Panel 2. A committee of citizens was visiting the new penitentiary just established out on the outskirts of town. As you can see, everything modern and escape-proof. Herbie waits in a queue of people outside the building. Panel 3. The jailer pulls at some bars. And these cells, you can't get in or out without a key. There's nobody in this one. Page 2, panel 1. Sound effects, view from inside the cell. Zzz. Panel 3, panel 2. Herbie is asleep inside the cell. Jailer, but how did he get in? Herbie's dad, search me. All I know is that if it's sleep, my son Herbie can get in anywhere. Later, as Herbie told his troubles to his old friend, Professor Flipdome, like sleep, get criticized. Do you know Rorschach from Watchmen? His speech patterns are based on this ridiculous 1960s absurdist comic book character. Yes. I'm waiting for a new monster to emerge so I can oppose it. Probably not really, but there has to be one of all these publishers who basically punches their way to the top and becomes like the crazed master of the OSR. Surely we can't persist in this incoherent and unending chaos, can we? It's frustrating if everyone's relatively equally powerful and no one knows who's in charge. We need people to resent and fear. If you don't know who to resent, you just end up resenting everybody. True facts. 20 minutes left on the Kickstarter. Don't think it's going to go up anymore. I'm just an arsehole, Jayhawk. Like, I don't know how to be. I can't be the main guy. So, like any nerd who can't be the hero, you know, I need to be the villain. And I'm much happier, like the British Labour Party, I'm much happier outside the tent screaming at people inside me and like, you failed the culture. I'm the dangerous outsider who knows what he's doing, rather than actually having to be in charge and having to develop things on my own. It's kind of a nightmare for me. I can't sing though. My voice is horrifically flat. Jayhawk, I don't know if it does, you know. I don't know if it does. I think if it does, that part of that environment has been long destroyed. I can't remember if I wrote anything like that into it. There's a whole bunch of weird creatures in there. There's like naked moon rolls that nest in the tree trunks, and there's like stilt sloths that wind between the tree branches. But I don't know if there's a particular fire-spreading bird. Oh. Richard Dennis. So in the last team in the Deep Cone Observatory Kickstarter, there was a guy there who offhand said, well, I wish I could back this, but I don't have a shelf space to put it on. And then we were trying to look for, it did relatively well, so we were looking for stretch goals. So I said, hey, if we hit this stretch goal, we'll buy this guy a shelf. And I think the reason I should not have done that is because there's a rule in Kickstarter where you're not allowed to like technically bribe people. It could be presented as bribing people to back your Kickstarter, because if you're offering someone like a particular people in the chat or particular backers like actual physical stuff, it could be like perceived as illegal or immoral. So I thought we could do it once if people didn't really notice and if it didn't become a thing. But and also because if people weren't expecting it, hookbirds would probably do that. Yeah. If people weren't expecting it, then it couldn't be considered like a graft or like a scheme. But that's for the exact reason we can't really do anything like that for any. I don't think we should do it for any future ones. I'm a bit worried about. I'm worried first about people trying to game the system, and also about, well, firstly about the actual morality of it, and then about the perceived morality of it. I'm worried about people trying to game the system and not know how to deal with it, but also about Kickstarter thinking that I'm trying to create a system which people can game. It's kind of like absurdist or slightly offensive humor. You can do it once offhand when it's genuinely improvised and no one minds that much. But if it becomes a thing, then it can be a problem. I can't believe one of you didn't vote for Patrick. Why would you do this? This is killing me. Pain. Oh yeah, does anyone have anything they want me to do in any particular product they want to use their fan power to shove up the priority list, or anything they want to see in any particular product, like in Goose Golden Goblins or lanthanum chromate. I know Dave McGrogan keeps banging on about fucking lanthanum chromate. Thank you, Elmer. Should stop playing lives when I'm drunk. But picking glue off a pad is like genuinely fascinating. I'm back to, yes, 88%, yes. What is the Bokken? I'll have to look it up. Oh, it poops fire. Oh, caustic, but is that, it's caustic, but is it firing? Is this, it doesn't look like it's actually shooting fire. It looks like it's shooting acidic, or like, this seems like a bull which has been eating chilies or something and shits on you. I don't know if you can reasonably call that a fire-spreading animal. It scorches pursuers like a snort of fire. That sounds like some European traveller got shot on by a bison or by a cow that had been eating peppers. I don't know about the illustrations for Goose Goblin Goblins. There are a few like anime style illustrators that I follow on Instagram that I like. Obviously, if you know me, you know I'm a massive Louise Sugden fan. So if she wanted, she's a big Goblin enthusiast. So if she wanted to do the illustrations, I would be up for it. I don't know. I do not know. Obviously, it's Goblins. It's for kids or families. So it's meant to have like a kind of like a more family-friendly style. I don't know who would do it, and I don't know what kind of book it would be in the end. I'm unsure of how deep I want to go on it, because my theory was, I guess what the market wants is just basically a nice simple book, but I wanted to do a book that had a lot of detail and research in it about specifically how to play games between families with different age children and different interest levels, and the kind of game you could play with them. Maybe that's stupid because parents already understand their children pretty well, already understand how to integrate their own children into game playing. But it seemed like something that no one had really done that I knew, because most of the family-friendly, child-centered game playing was kind of a bit Yeah, Vargai would be great, but I don't know if I can afford him. I don't know. I'm quite excited about Queen Mab. I wonder if I can show chat like a few Queen Mab illustrations. Let's have a look. Because Paco has been doing some amazing images, and for the past month I haven't really been adding much to the project. Images. I think people have seen this, but let me see if I can upload a new one. I should get back on task before the end of the thing. Yeah, I'll show you some stuff if it will upload. Maybe it won't because my internet is... Oh, it will. All right. All right. All right. I did watch Over the Golden Wall, and it is very good. You're right. It's a very sad series. All right. If you want to go here, you can see. I think that is a Drip Pilgrim of the Moisture Clans. I wonder if is there a share screen capability in this thing? I don't know if there is. Jayhawk, who the hell are you? Are you some fire expert? Are you like an environmentalist? Do you work in like the flylands of North America? I'm gonna click on your name and find out more about you, but I can't. Report user for having too much specialist knowledge. Are you secretly Stephen J. Pine? Oh, I need OBS. No, I can't do that. Use OBS, which I don't have. All right, I'll just drop links. See, this is another artist where I'm basically writing to try and live up to the art. And I'm not sure I can, but I feel like this could maybe be really popular. I don't know. I'd be really embarrassed if it fails because her art is amazing. And I feel like the idea is really good. But I don't know if it will be a big deal or not. I'm not sure if I can make something genuinely good enough. All right, last one. A field of grain counts as an ecosystem. If you can write a poem about it, it's an ecosystem. But you should speak to Scrapper sometimes. Scrapper is really the expert in biology and environments. And it's Scrap who basically worked out the most of the plants and animals for the zone and for the fire regime and how that would work. I think I haven't. Yeah, I had a bottle of wine last time, didn't I? But I don't have one this time. I think I've drank everything in the house. Kickstarter. I guess we'll do one for Jayhawk because I have a list of plants, and for Broken Fire Regime because I knew there was a plant speaking thing spell. I actually wrote Speak with Plants, which gave each plant a personality. Hello, Ram. Other flora, 168. Dry fungi, epiphyte grasses. These strange grasses grow on ground debris or other plants, but do so without leaching their nutrients. Their roots grow in a kind of basket tracery above the ground or around the stems of the base plant. Speak with plants. Proletarian, tough, mildly stupid and unsympathetic. The plant thinks that others should do for themselves, but is conflicted and highly sensitive about its quasi-parasitic relationship with other plants. If I did write that, Omar, then that's a brilliant idea of mine that I forgot that I had. Erythean. Hold on, let me see if I can actually pronounce what I wrote. Erythean pit. Appearing in bushes roughly similar in arrangement to a rose bush, the Erythean pit has a stem with recurved thorns and an orchid flower shaped like a human ear, and which smells distinctively of sweat. Below the bloom of the flower is a pendulous green bell. Anyone breaking open this bell will release a slightly acidic gloop of tart sap and dissolving insect parts. The Erythinaean pit is carnivorous and is fed continually by hovering clouds of desperate insert birds, see page XX, which bother the hell out of anyone getting close. The gloop of the bulb is one of the few easily obtainable substances capable of removing cloud-grave sap from human skin, though it is not very effective at this, working best when only a small area is covered with a cracked sap pattern. Speak with plants. Dark, decadent, and amused. The Erythinaean pit is largely sympathetic to the company and capital in general, and will speak eloquently in their defense. So the reason this plant looks like a human ear is because there are these creatures called insert birds in the zone, and because the plant is evolved to look like an ear, they think that everything that looks like an ear is the plant, and because climbing huge trees is like a thing you need to do in this adventure, these birds, while you're climbing, come up to you and they fucking come at your ear and try and jab stuff in there because they think you're the plant. So it basically makes the place even more of a nightmare than it already was, which is pretty bad. There are also creatures called dementia wasps who infect you with dementia. Like they sting you and it hurts agonizingly, but then they basically give you Alzheimer's. So they're everyone's absolutely terrified of them. Everything that's alive in the zone is basically horrible. It's not a great place to be. 5 minutes to go. Will we hit 37,500? We don't know. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Do. If you grow a cutting of the plant, will it have the same mind? That sounds like a really cool idea, actually. But I think if you were to judge it by game, it would depend on the way it grew up. I assume it would have the same core personality, but it might relate differently to its environment depending on the circumstances. But who really knows? Why is everyone so into plants? They're genuinely hard to use in game. Reptilian Joe, no. Well, not really. They're a living being. The Geigenschein is like, oh fuck, did I reuse the same idea? Did I? God fucking damn it. Hold on, I need to check to make sure they have a different mechanic. I better not have redone the same idea. That would be fucked. Hold on. Animals, 56. Cephalophanes, dementia wasp, Japanese helmet, carnivorous, eggs, nest. Terrible sting. A sting that does not simply poison its target but causes a slow and inevitable degeneration, eventually leading to total cognitive and physical collapse. In the final stages, brain, nerve, and muscle tissue begin to ferment whilst the body is still alive. This produces a distinctive fruity scent, which invariably attracts more dementia wasps. These buzz around the victim, waiting for them to finally expire so they can burrow into their brain. The presence of the wasps forces family members and loved ones to either banish the afflicted victim or to finish them off quickly themselves before rapidly burning the body. Stage 1, personality change, limb juddering. Stage 2, hallucinations, speech loss. Stage 3, paranoia, jerky and uncoordinated limbs. Stage 4, psychosis and full body shakes. Stage 5, brain and body begin to ferment, attracting more dementia wasps. The period of each stage, depending on the number of stings, it can take years, months, weeks, or days. So, the terror of the dementia wasp is so great the DM may wish to model it using the effects of a fear spell, which applies to anything that can be affected by the wasp and can understand what it is. There is a bounty of 10,000 gold pieces for destroying a hive of dementia wasps. However, it's very difficult to prove you did it without witnesses, and very, very few are willing to try collecting it. Yeah, everyone make noise for the final 3 minutes. Get excited. If anyone has any really radical suggestions or weird shit they want to say, you better put it in now because I will be gone in 3 minutes. 2 minutes. I can't keep saying this. Do 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 do. And the fuse box just went. God fucking damn it. Magic items. I will look into it, Omar. Maybe. I guess I'm gonna hope people. There is no beekeeper suit in the zone though. Oh, I saw start magic items. More plants into DBS. Oh, for God's sake, I'll try. I can't believe the power went off in the last minute. Still 19 seconds, but that spread it. No, I'm not adding crystals, for God's sake. That's the countdown theme. Look it up. It's a classic. And we are done. Peace. Catch you on the flip side, everybody. The final total, Peter, was £37,438, which is pretty good for a massive failure of a man. Thank you, everybody. I will try. What the fuck? For Christ's sake. Goodbye, everybody. I don't have anything cool to say. It was nice to see you all. And we are out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. End stream.